I lead with my lifestyle. I lead with my intuition. I lead with what I'm working to bring to life. And whatever that looks like, it will somehow work itself out. And I can't explain it any other way. I just have full faith and full trust that it's going to happen. Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Branded and Booked. This is a solo episode today, you guys, and honestly, a little different than what I normally do. I feel like I haven't done sort of a life update episode with you all in a minute. So normally I'm teaching and we're talking about branding or marketing in this crazy STR and boutique hotel space, this boutique hospitality world, but I was like, you know what? I could teach this week, or I could just tell you guys what's going on because our life right now feels a little crazy. And I think so often in this world of online business growth and building, we don't always see the messy behind the scenes of what's happening. And it does feel kind of chaotic right now, more personally than in the businesses. And we're going to talk about all of that in today's episode. And I just kind of want to give you guys an update on what's going on and kind of where we're at. So we are supposed to be leaving for our big camper life trip for a year on June 22nd. Okay. We were supposed to go on a test trip. So Colin and I have been doing these test trips. And we've had them planned anyway. Let's just say that. If you've been following me on Instagram, then you may have seen how our first one went. And I'll give you a quick recap of that. P.S. We've never done this before, right? Like we've never towed a vehicle this large. It's mind-blowing to me that in all states it's not a requirement that we have to have some sort of CDL license because I think it should be, but it's fine. Or some sort of training, like on the at the even at the RV level, like there should be some sort of required training to drive these things. They are huge. So we've never done this. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot that can go wrong and things already have. So we're just going to talk about that. During our first test trip, which was the first weekend of May, we were given 2 free nights. We bought our fifth wheel, our Brinkley fifth wheel at Walnut Ridge Campground here in Indianapolis. Well, actually, this is over in Newcastle. I think it's in Newcastle. So we bought our Brinkley there. They have a campground, and a lot of the people at the campground actually live there. They have permanent sites, and so their campers are up on their fifth wheels and their campers. They're up on like cinder blocks, and they just live there permanently. And I'm like, this is crazy. But anyway, they give you 2 free nights when you buy from them. So we were like, cool, we can go do our first shakedown there, really figure everything out, de-winterize it. We had this whole plan, all right? And we were told, Colin was like, I called and asked, I asked about this twice, that the sites were full hookups. Well, we arrived, and first we tried to pull into our site, and Colin didn't get the fifth wheel like perfectly on the parking pad in the way that he wanted. And there was a phone pole in front of us, like a telephone pole. Well, that made things really difficult because Colin couldn't just pull straight forward. He kind of had to angle the truck. It was just really awkward. And we got to a point where then it was worse than it was the first time he pulled in. And I said, let's just go out and try again. Let's just go out and start again. And it's okay. We did not have our kids with us throughout this experience, thank goodness. But so we were like, let's go out. Colin pulled up the map this was mistake number one. Okay. Colin pulled up the map and was like, oh, I see these 3 exits. We can get out this way. Well, on the trees in the campground, 2 of the first rows said exit. So it was like exit this way. And the last row said no exit. But that row also had the widest range for us to be able to turn. Like I said, it's a lot to tow your F350 dually, plus then you've got your fifth wheel that you're towing, your 42-foot fifth wheel. It was a lot. So Colin was like, well, I'm just going to go with what the maps say and ignore the signs on the trees. Although he would still, if he listens to this, he would still try to tell you that the row we went down did not say no exit, but it did. It's fine. We're okay. Our marriage survived. So we went down this row. Okay, we get to the end of this row, and a guy with a permanent site is outside doing some work in his yard area, and he said, I like, you guys can do what you want to do, but I'm just going to tell you, I've watched a number of people be forklifted out of this spot right here. That is a big camper that you're towing. And a lot of people hit these trees or they get stuck and they can't get out. So you guys can do what you want. Colin went and like walked a direction. He was like, I think we can get out. And this guy was like, I really think you should back out where you came from. Mind you, we just driven the whole campground, okay? Whole thing. We went down a whole row of campers. And they're all permanent sites. So I'm like, anyone who is in their camper right now is just going to watch this and absolutely lose their minds, but it's fine. So I was like, Collin, this guy's experienced. He knows what he's doing. I think we should listen to him. And so we spent the next 15 minutes on the phone with each other. I walked behind the camper. Collin obviously backed it because there was no place to turn around. Like that was not happening. We backed it all the way down the campground and we were on the phone with each other. And I was like, you got to go this way. You got to go this way. Like it was fine. We actually did really good. We just took it nice and slow, nice and easy, and everything ended up being okay. But it was a stressful 15 minutes. So we did that. We got out. We got out of the campground, came back in. Everything was fine. We get into our site, we get parked, we get where we want to be, we level it. The Brinkley that we have is self-leveling, auto-leveling, which is really cool. And Collin gets our power cord out to hook up to electric. And he's like, cool. And then he's like, wait, where do we hook up to the water and the sewer? And I was like, good question, Collin. I don't see an obvious spot where we might do that. Yeah, there wasn't one. They have a dumping station. So we needed to de-winterize our camper, which is a process. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you exactly what that looks like because I don't know all of the details on that. But I know it's a process. And it involves filling the water tanks and emptying them several times, like flushing the system multiple times. And so we were just not going to be able to do that effectively with a dump station in this particular campground. It was tricky. It was a tricky one. So we were like, no. So we went over to Walnut Ridge and we were like, we thought that there were going to be, sites here that had full hookups. There are not. And so we made an appointment for them to de-winterize and sanitize our water system, which was what we should have done from the beginning. So two things that we learned right off the bat. Number one, always walk the campground, like walk the campground. See what is in your way, see what trees exist, plan out your route for exit, we'll go walk it. The second thing we learned is double confirm, triple confirm that we have booked full hookup sites. And also, when it comes to some of these, like the de-winterizing and the sanitization, just let the experts handle it. It's fine. No big deal. It's $200 for us to do this at Walnut Ridge. At this point, I'm like, we're in so deep, it's fine at this point. So those were a couple of lessons. So we decided to just stay that night and basically dry camp, which was not a big deal for us because we've tent camped. So I was like, this is no big deal. They have nice bathroom facilities. It's fine. We'll wash our dishes outside just like we normally do. We went to Walmart and grabbed a couple of items that we needed. It was fine. No big deal. We made it work. What was great is that we got to test our heat. We got to test like all of the gas, the propane and so forth, and test the slides and just a little bit of the setup. We got to swap our mattress and put our bedding on, which if you guys are not familiar with what bedding are, they are literally zip bedding, which is so cool and hopefully will be very convenient for us. So there were a few things we got to do, which was great. We decided to just stay for one night. That next week had to go down to our cabins and then had to separately drive to Michigan. So I spent about 20 hours driving that week. And we have a very extensive client workload right now. So that plus the travel, I was feeling a little overwhelmed. Collin was like, as long as it's not the camper that is causing you to want to go home, it's fine. I'm like, I wish we had all of our systems operating and I just have a lot that I've got to get done this week. So it was okay. We had a good first trip. We come home from that. Probably a week or so later, Collin's check engine light in his truck goes on. Now, the truck is not brand new. It is new to us. We bought it with about 30,000 miles on it. It is an F350 dually. And Collin has a code runner to be able to check what that code is throwing, essentially. So that check engine light comes on and Collin checks it, and it is the diesel particulate filter, the DPF, okay? And I was like, cool. So Collin starts doing some research on this, and as we're researching, he's like, well, this could be a $5,000 fix. So I'm like, awesome. I'm loving this for us. He took it into Ford. Thankfully, it's warranty work, which is a good thing and means that we won't have to pay anything. The bad news is this filter, you guys, is not due into Ford until June 5th. And there are 186 of them due. And we're like 380th or something in line. Now, they did list this as vehicle down. But here's the problem with the June 5th date. Number one, we could hit that. We could not. The part could be delayed. Who knows? Number of things could happen. Number two, we could not even get that part. We don't know. Number three, it totally ruined our next two test trips. So at this point, we haven't tested the water systems in our fifth wheel. We have not tested the AC. So there's some major system things that we haven't done yet. And we intentionally had these trips sort of planned, two of them without the kids, so that we could kind of figure out what we were doing and get things at least set up the way that we wanted without them. Love them, but they will be so excited. And when they're excited, they're a little chaotic. And it's just going to be a lot. So there's going to be a lot of navigating on this. We already know, but yeah. So our third trip was supposed to be the weekend of June 5th with the boys. And we were going to be driving our 300-mile stints, which is kind of what we're doing along our route. So the decision that we're faced with now is, do we buy a different truck? Literally, Colin's like, I'm going to just go buy a new truck. And that is one option slash thought in terms of where we're at so that we can still do our test trips because our date is June 22nd. And the week before that, no, not the week before that, the week of June 8th, I will be gone that whole week. I'll be gone for like 7 days at the cabins and then at an event, a speaking event for Tremont Lodge. So with all that, we don't really have time to do other test trips, which is stressful and fine, but stressful. And we're just getting so close to that June 22nd date. We're feeling some pressure and we've got campsites booked. I mean, for us to have to move things would be a lot. Now, I know that some of you listening to this who are avid RVers and have done this, you're like, why'd you all book all your campsites through the end of the year? Because we're really type A and we have a schedule we're trying to stick to. And this experience, maybe what this experience was supposed to teach us is, hey, you're going to have to be patient. Things are going to happen. I mean, you guys had this happen while we were out. Number one, we probably would have said, forget this, we're buying a new truck. We probably would have done that. Or we would have been stuck somewhere for potentially 3 to 4 weeks, wherever we were, with a vehicle that we couldn't tow. Collin can drive the truck right now. Ford told him that he could drive it and it's probably fine, but he can't tow with it. They were like, we would not recommend doing that. So that's where we're at. So interesting decisions. Do we buy a new truck? Do we wait? But if we wait, here's the thing that we're kind of considering. The truck right now has both of our names on it. Like we're both on the loan and we both currently have income. On June 5th, Collin actually will be leaving his job and will not have that income anymore. So we're kind of going, what is our best case scenario here? Because we will need both of us and our income to be able to get approved, most likely, for a new loan. And then I'm also like, my credit score just came back up after all of these credit checks this year, and this is killing my soul. So I've decided it's all going to be okay. It's all going to work out. Obviously, this is happening right now for a reason. Thankfully, it didn't happen on our trip. I'm like, it's the best, worst timing that we could have experienced. And it's going to be okay. And we're going to encounter these things on the trip. So we're going to have to learn how to roll with the punches. The boys will have to learn how to roll with the punches with us. And it's going to be okay. The logistics right now feel a little overwhelming to me of not only are we dealing with this whole situation with the truck and needing to do our test trips and so forth, we're also in limbo with our home. We've got it listed. We have it listed as either a furnished rental or an unfurnished rental. It's listed on platforms right now at $3,500 a month, which we can definitely go down from there. It's not going to be a big deal. I just would feel so much better leaving knowing that the mortgage is covered. Literally, that's all I want. Knowing that our mortgage is covered and that everything's going to be okay. And if we make a little bit of extra on top of that, fantastic. If we don't, fine. But at least we will have that covered. So that's a logistic we're navigating. We're also packing. And I forgot that when you start the packing process, we've done this a few times now, right? Like we packed up from college, we moved into an apartment. We moved from an apartment to the first home we built. We moved from that home 18 months later all the way across the country to Arizona, where we then had Eli and decided to move all the way back to Indiana, lived with our in-laws for 8 months, then moved into our home. We've moved a lot. So, we've done this, but I forget, number one, we now have 2 kids that have a ton of stuff. Plus we have a ton of stuff and the logistics of all of that and what the house looks like as you're trying to pack. And also me going, okay, what do I want to take in the camper? We have to be concerned about weight. What do I want to put in storage? What do I want to put at my mother-in-law's house for a period of time? Because we do have to come home twice. We have to come home in October for my brother's wedding, and we are choosing to come home for Christmas. Um, because we think that that'll be better for the boys this year. We were like, I think this will be a good decision for us. So, yeah, lots of logistics, and that feels a little daunting. The other thing that I'm sort of navigating is looking at our itinerary and going, I told Colin, he was like, it's too late for this now, Steph. But I was like, I wish we would have said, hey, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to stay in every spot we want to be. We're always going to move on Mondays or something. Like, we're always going to move on Mondays and Thursdays or something like that. So that I had planned days that I could just block my calendar for work calls and not have to take them then. So I could just be like, every Monday my calendar's blocked, every Thursday my calendar's blocked, or whatever I needed to do. But that logistically is not our reality. So that feels a little overwhelming to me. I am getting the Starlink Mini, which I hope allows me to do a lot of work from the car, and I'll have noise canceling headphones. And I don't love all of the screen time, but the boys will have their iPads and we will figure it out and be okay and be adventuring and exploring a lot. So, no, a number of different things that we're kind of navigating. I was talking to Colin recently and I was like, people ask me sometimes how we have been able to stay together for so long. You know, we've been together since we were 15 and 16. I'm 33. Colin's getting ready to turn 34. And people are like, how have you guys been able to do this? And I'm like, literally, we've picked the most stressful situations possible and just said, screw it. Let's see what happens here. We're just going to go for it and see how we do together. And that'll be the ultimate test. That's literally what we've done is just how overwhelmed and stressful can we feel in these scenarios? Maybe not the most stressful, but we certainly have put ourselves in a number of interesting and challenging situations that we've figured out how to navigate together. And this will be no different. And I know that we will figure it out. I also know that this was put on my heart for the reason of wanting to experience this entrepreneurial freedom and the reason we've grown these businesses in the first place, right? We have all of these amazing businesses. And I'm like, what do we do right now? We all get up, we all go to school or work, we all come home, we eat dinner, we do baths, and we go to bed. That's literally Monday through Friday. Weekends are great, and we spend a lot of time as a family, and that's awesome. But I'm like, part of being an entrepreneur is not just the financial freedom, it's what that allows you to do. And part of that is location freedom and being able to travel and go and do and see. And I feel most grounded and most me. I would argue that Colin does too. When we are outside, when we're experiencing nature, when we're seeing new things, like we were never more connected to each other and just to our world and like to being present than we were, I feel, when we were in Arizona. Now, we had Eli later when we had been living in Arizona. So kids change things, right? That's true. But we want the boys to experience this with us. So we're going to figure it out. It will all work out and be okay. In addition to all of that that's going on right now, we have had explosive growth in both the Weber Co. and then also hosted by the Webers. The Weber Co. this year, I made the decision to do some speaking events and actually invest in those. Some of those speaking events I did have to actually pay for and invest in to be a speaker there. And they were some of the best dollars, the best marketing dollars I could have spent on my business this year. And I'm so thankful for them. That has caused ripple effects of explosive growth, which is amazing and so exciting. So we're balancing that in tandem with the fact that hosted by the Webers has seemed to acquire this happens in our co-hosting business, probably because I tell people we get requests on that Airbnb co-host network and I tell more people no than I tell them yes. So we've gotten some leads through that, which is great, but we're really picky about who we take on. It just so happens that we've had a few good connections recently that I'm like, yeah, we will take this property on, or yes, this does make sense for us. So that's great and feels really aligned. It's just like, wow. But again, you guys, I lead my business from a place of probably more intuition than I do anything else. I've gotten to this place in business where I used to be we need to hit 50K months or we need to hit whatever dollar amount or whatever it was. And now I'm just like, I lead with my lifestyle. I lead with my intuition. I lead with what I'm working to bring to life. And whatever that looks like, it will somehow work itself out. And I can't explain it any other way. I just have full faith and full trust that it's going to happen and be okay. And so this is one of those situations with all of this explosive growth we've had. I personally made some strategic decisions at the beginning of the year to do these speaking events. I know that when I speak, my businesses grow. I know that that is the reality. That is so true. So, with that, made those decisions and then that happened. But I feel like this is my sign of going, hey, Steph, it's going to be okay. This is a reminder that yes, Collin is leaving a six-figure salary. That feels heavy for our family. Yes, you're about to take on the insurance. Yes, you're taking on more financial responsibility for the family than you've ever taken on, but it's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. And so I think that this is why this growth is happening, right? Everything leads to the next thing that you're supposed to be doing or that you're meant to do. I truly feel that way. So, yeah, while things feel heavy and somewhat chaotic, and some nights Collin and I just sit on our couch and I'm like, are we doing too much? Are we sure this is really what we want? Are we sure we're making the right choices and we're doing the right things? And I think only we get to define that and only we know what that looks like. And financially, Collin and I feel a little silly right now because we feel like we've put ourselves in a really good spot. And with buying a depreciating asset of a truck and a depreciating asset of a fifth wheel, that feels financially silly to us, but it's a lifestyle investment. And I have to keep reminding myself of that because other than going to Disney, we don't make those lifestyle investments all that often. Even going out to dinner or going and doing activities, we don't do a lot of that. We cook a lot of our meals at home. We do a lot of activities outside that are free. So I try to keep all of that in mind as we're making this very intentional choice. Also, I very much believe that this decision will lead us to the next thing, which I hope will be us developing a luxury campground. That's sort of the next place, the next step that I want to take. And that's kind of my next goal. So, yeah, lots of exciting things, lots of challenging and scary things, but I thought it would be a fun episode. I thought this would be a fun episode for you guys to just kind of hear what's going on and where we're at. We're T minus almost exactly 30 days out, which feels insane. And it's going to work out one way or another. We'll be all right. And full faith and full trust in that. That's all I can do, right? That is the journey of entrepreneurship. And I think because of my experiences in building businesses and in growing, this is what I just have to realize. And that's all there is to it. So I appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode. I know a little different than what I normally do. We'll get back to teaching, but hopefully this was a fun life update for those of you who are kind of following along. Also, if you guys are interested and you're listening to this podcast, a lot of you probably follow me on the Weber Co. We are building out our personal brand Life with the Webers. It's a really intentional decision on our part to build that out because we're going to talk a lot about camper life, eating gluten-free and dairy-free over there, decisions that we make with our kids, parenting. We're just going to share what we're doing, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just a personal brand. It's a personal creative outlet for us, but we want to take you guys along for the journey. Some of that fits into the Weber Co. I'm developing a new offer where I'll be able to go and meet clients in person since we're doing this trip, which I think will be really cool, and I'll be launching that soon. But I just want to make sure that if you're interested in following a lot of our journey, then Life with the Webers is the account where to come hang out with us there. And then obviously continuing to follow the Weber Co. for all things boutique hospitality, branding, and marketing. So I appreciate all of you. Thanks for your time today. We'll see you on the next episode of Branded and Booked. Cheers.